Morning, Trainiacs. With a lot of people doing their first few triathlons early in the season, you might be thinking, can you do a triathlon on a mountain bike? This is a typical bike that most people will have lying around. Well, spoiler alert, the answer is yes. Whatever bike you have, that's the one that you should use. But let's say this is the bike that you have and that you're starting with. I'm going to give you 5 ideas to get the most out of that bike so it's not just a total slog during the race. Alright, so the first thing that you can do to end up making your bike a little bit more optimal to ride in a triathlon is to make yourself more aerodynamic. About 80 to 85% of the force that we are pushing forward and have to overcome is caused by our body. It's the aerodynamics of our body. So the narrower and smaller we can make our body, the easier it's going to be. What you can do for that is use a pair of Aerobars, a pair of clip-on Aerobars that you can buy on Amazon. They cost anywhere from $15 to $50. You set them up on your road bike, on your trail bike, on your mountain bike, whatever it is, and if you can get comfortable in this more narrow position that's a little bit lower, you're going to go a lot faster at the very same effort. In our book, triathlonbikefoundations.com, we recommend that this is the very first purchase that anyone makes because it's so critical and will make such a huge difference in your performance on race day. That's the first tip. The next tip is what you might find when you put on those Aerobars is that you feel scrunched. Your hip angle ends up closing up, and that ends up causing a very high likelihood of you getting cramps on the run. So what you can do is once you put on those Aerobars on the front, to open up those hips and make it a little bit more comfortable, you can raise your saddle height a little bit, and some stems or some bike seat posts, they actually have a way that you can flip them forward so that the saddle can move forward. And what you want to do is ideally, if you can, move that saddle forward, move it up a little bit while still making sure that your pelvis isn't rocking side to side. You don't want to feel like you're bouncing on the saddle. And by doing that, you're going to stay nice and stable on here. You're going to be nice and stable on there. Hopefully you're going to be comfortable and not have that super closed up hip angle. And then you're going to be able to get onto the bike, be fresh. And then you're going to be able to get on the run, be fresh without having smashed your legs up on the bike. So this second tip, see if you can get that seat height just a little bit up and a little bit forward to compensate for some of the discomfort that might happen as a result of the Aerobars. Tip number 3, I highly recommend getting a pair of clipless pedals and shoes. Now the reason for this is that it's a safety factor, it's a comfort factor. There isn't really a ton of evidence showing that having your feet clipped in is that much faster than just being on top of a flat set of pedals. But what this is going to do is for people who are really working very hard in an uncomfortable position that isn't really like locked into a bike like you're on a mountain bike, the chance of a foot slipping off the pedal is higher if you're on the flats. So this is going to maybe slightly, if anything, make you a little bit faster on the bike. It's going to make you feel like you fit in a little bit more, so that is going to increase your confidence, probably increase your performance. It's going to be a lot safer. And there is no downside to this because if you end up getting a pair of pedals that are clipless, shoes that clip into it, you can always move that over to the next bike. It's not like you're investing into a bike that you're only going to use temporarily. So that is tip number 3. The next tip, and this is just for aerodynamics, is to clean up all of the cabling on the front of your bike. Now on a mountain bike where it doesn't really matter if you're super aerodynamic up here, you can leave this on. But if you're in a triathlon, aerodynamics is really key. So what you want to do is say zip tie all these things together. If you have reflectors on your bike, essentially you just want to tie up, you want to take off all of the extra things that are on there that don't need to be on there or don't need to be as big. So this is reflectors, this is cables, this is any stickers that might be flapping away. Take off all the extraneous stuff and that's going to actually make a fairly significant difference to your bike performance. And the last thing, this might not be possible. This depends on your bike, this depends on what you have access to, and in this case, I certainly don't recommend spending any money on this because this isn't money that you're going to get back. But let's say you have access to a mountain bike or a city bike or some sort of commuting, touristing trail bike. It has really big tires like this. That makes a really big difference in your aerodynamic when you're looking at this versus that. So if you somehow have access to a set of wheels that are more road bike specific wheels that you can swap onto your mountain bike, that's going to make a big difference. Now here are the things to think about. Is your tire circumference the same? Is the dropout the same? Can you easily do that? Are you able to line up your brakes again? In most cases, the answer to that is going to be no, but if some magical way allows you to have tires that are this wide instead of this wide, you're going to go way faster. So the answer is yes, absolutely you can do a triathlon on a mountain bike. Those are some tips that you might be able to easily implement to end up making that mountain bike or city bike or trail bike a lot faster in your triathlon. Now, some of them you're going to be able to do, some of them you're not going to be able to do, but the thing that I would say is don't spend more than $100, maybe $200 on a mountain bike, because if you do continue on in triathlon, you are very quickly going to want to upgrade to a road bike or a tri-bike. In Triathlon Bike Foundations, the book that we have written on Amazon that has a lot of really good 5-star reviews, we recommend that you get a tri-bike only once you know that you're going to be continuing on with tri for a number of years. Until that time, use whatever bike you've got and use these tips to make it a little bit faster. The final thing to keep in mind is that this applies really well for first-time triathletes, and I recommend first-time triathletes start with a sprint or an Olympic distance race. With half Ironmans and Ironman, that's a long time to be out there pushing through on a heavy, not aerodynamic bike, so you end up encountering problems with making time cutoffs. But let's say you're a really strong cyclist and you're doing a half Ironman and Ironman and you still know that you are going to be able to make it within the time cutoff, you can still use a mountain bike or a city bike. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be a fair bit harder to make those time cutoffs. So that's it, Trainiacs. Use whatever bike you have. Thank you to Hazard Cycle Sport in Santa Barbara for allowing us to use some of your bikes here as props. You've been supportive over the course of this week while we've been in Santa Barbara, so thank you very much. And if any of you beginner triathletes out there are getting into your first race and want tips on triathlon to help you get through those races, hit the subscribe button below. Perfect timing, semi-truck. Perfect, just perfect. Later, Trainiacs.